Have you ever noticed this strange pattern? You crave connection. You want closeness. You finally get it. And suddenly, your interest disappears. No fight, no red flags, nothing wrong. Just a quiet, emotional switch flipping off. And the confusing part? You don't even know why. Here's the psychology behind why some people lose interest once closeness appears. And if this feels uncomfortably accurate, the reason for this pattern is subtler than it looks. When calm feels like boredom. At the beginning, everything feels intense. Your mind is alert. Your heart races. Your imagination fills in the gaps. Psychologically, this is novelty-driven dopamine. But here's the catch. For some people, uncertainty feels like excitement, not because they love chaos, but because their brain learned that unpredictability equals emotional stimulation. Once closeness removes the mystery, dopamine drops. The nervous system relaxes, and the mind interprets that calm as boredom, not because the person became less interesting, but because your brain stopped chasing. You didn't lose interest. You lost the high. This isn't about not caring. It's about how your nervous system learned to survive. Closeness activates danger. Closeness sounds comforting, but for many people it activates fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of being depended on. Fear of disappointing someone who actually matters. This often comes from early emotional experiences where closeness wasn't safe. So when someone gets close, your nervous system doesn't say connection. It says danger. The brain protects you by pulling away emotionally. Interest fades, attraction cools, not because you don't care, but because caring feels risky. Distance feels safer than vulnerability. Pay attention. Your emotions didn't disappear. They rerouted. Independence or avoidance. And here's where most people get this wrong. This isn't about wanting less connection. It's about closeness feeling like pressure. Some people pride themselves on being independent, low maintenance, self-sufficient. But there's a fine psychological line between independence and emotional avoidance. When someone gets close, it requires emotional availability, consistency, presence. For avoidant personalities, that feels like pressure. So the mind reframes closeness as a loss of freedom. Interest fades as a way to regain control. It's not that you want to be alone, it's that closeness feels like obligation. An obligation kills desire. Attraction versus illusion. Early attraction isn't about the person, it's about the idea of the person. Your brain fills in gaps with hope, projection, and imagination. You bond with the potential. But closeness brings reality, human flaws, normal routines, predictability. When fantasy meets reality, some people feel disappointed, not because the person changed, but because the illusion ended. Psychologically, this is expectation collapse. You weren't attached to them. You were attached to how they made you feel about yourself. When reality replaces fantasy, desire doesn't always survive the transition. When intensity burns out, some people feel deeply, too deeply. They connect fast, think intensely, emotionally invest early. But the nervous system isn't built to stay in high emotional states for long. So once closeness stabilizes, the brain shuts down to recover. Interest fades. Emotions flatten. Detachment kicks in. This isn't coldness. It's emotional burnout. If you've ever felt relief instead of sadness when someone pulled away, notice that. Distance becomes regulation. Why ease feels wrong? This one is subtle. If you grew up believing love must be earned, chased, proven, then ease feels unfamiliar. Calm relationships don't register as real. So when closeness feels peaceful, your brain questions it. Where's the struggle? Where's the tension? Interest fades because your mind expects love to hurt a little. And when it doesn't feel real. Your brain learned to trust tension more than peace. Self-protection in disguise. By now, you might notice a theme. What looks like losing interest is often self-protection. Here's the truth most people don't admit. Losing interest is often emotional self-defense. Because once you're close, you could get hurt, rejected, abandoned. So your mind exits first. It's not that you don't care. It's that caring feels dangerous. Distance gives control. Detachment feels powerful. And suddenly, you feel safe again. This changes things. If you lose interest once someone gets close, it doesn't mean you're broken or incapable of love. It means your brain learned a pattern, one that once protected you. But awareness changes everything. When you notice the pattern, the story starts to change. Closeness doesn't kill attraction, unhealed fear does. And once you see that pattern, you stop blaming people and start changing outcomes. And the moment you realize that, everything shifts. If this hit closer than expected, you're not alone. Subscribe if you want psychology that explains your patterns, not just labels them.